What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, and I have an emergency update to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:27 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and the Middle East. I wanted to update you guys on the situation with Israel and Iran. But before I get into that, I just want to mention that we had an X7.1 class solar flare yesterday, and now the NOAA here in the United States is issuing geomagnetic storm watches for the next 72 hours from October the 3rd through October the 5th. Right now, they're showing a G3 class geomagnetic storm, which is a strong magnetic storm, and the scale goes all the way up to G5. We'll have to wait and see if they adjust this. They might have to adjust this upward to a G4 or even a G5 because this X7.1 was Earth facing, directly Earth facing. And the last time we had such a strong solar flare that was Earth facing was in May, and that was a 8.4. This is a 7.1, so basically about the same, slightly weaker. But if you remember, in May we had those global auroras where people were seeing very vivid auroras all the way down to the equator. So that could happen again. Be on the lookout for auroras this coming weekend. And to see an aurora, you want to make sure you get away from sources of light pollution, and you want to make sure you're up on high terrain, and you want to look towards the north. So I just want to wish all of my Israeli or Jewish viewers a happy new year. Today is the start of Rosh Hashanah, where Jewish people celebrate the Jewish New Year. So happy New Year, and want to update you guys on the situation with Iran. So Israel's Khan News is reporting that the Israeli War Cabinet decided on a quote-unquote harsh response to Iran, and an Israeli source told the Times of Israel that Israel's response to Iran's missile attack will aim to cause significant financial damage, and the feeling is that the response must be significant and it must come soon. And Israel's representative to the Security Council at the UN stated that the country is facing existential attacks. Okay, so Israel's representative to the UN Security Council saying Israel is facing existential attacks. Okay, these attacks are threatening the existence of Israel. So that's pretty strong, and that means that Israel is taking these attacks very, very seriously. And Iran has cautioned airlines to prepare for possible military activity and to expect aircraft interception within 100 nautical miles of Iranian airspace that borders Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and parts of the UAE and Turkey, according to the Wall Street Journal. So basically, they're telling airlines not to fly within 100 nautical miles of Iran in the coming days because they could shoot you down if you're a pilot, or they could send fighter jets to intercept you because they're expecting an attack from Israel and the United States. Now, if you didn't catch my update last night and yesterday, we saw several KC-135 Stratotankers, which are aerial refuelers, fly to a base in Kansas. And these KC-135s are affiliated with the B-2 stealth bombers here in the United States. And they moved to that base in Kansas shortly after the attack on Israel. So it's very possible that the United States may use B-2 stealth bombers to assist Israel in striking various targets, strategic targets inside of Iran. Everything we're hearing right now is that they're going to go after the energy, the oil facilities, and various other bases, missile bases, and things like that. We don't know yet if Israel's going to strike the nuclear program. It's very possible that they will. It's hard to say what could happen, okay? Anything can happen at this point. This is a very serious situation, so please get prepared. Make sure you have everything you need. Stock up on everything while you can before people start panic buying. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. Make sure you have a bug out bag. Make sure you have a bug out plan and a fallout shelter. So the Israeli War Cabinet supposedly deciding on a harsh response, according to Israel's Con News. Now, Russia today tested their emergency alert system and emergency public warning systems for nuclear war. Here we have some video footage coming out of St. Petersburg, and you can hear these sirens going off. Let me play this for you. So very interesting timing that Russia would suddenly decide to test their emergency public warning systems nationwide across all of Russia, all of their 11 time zones. They did this nationwide public warning system test at around 10:30 a.m. local time. Apparently, loudspeakers were broadcasting an attention everyone call. The emergency ministry said on Telegram. The exercise aims to check the warning systems, the readiness of those responsible for launching them, and to raise public awareness, the ministry said, adding, "Don't panic, everything is according to a plan." So this is very, very suspicious, guys. So remember 2 nights ago, right after Israel invaded Lebanon, Putin was rushed to the Kremlin at midnight. And now suddenly they do this check of the national emergency warning system in Russia. Very, very concerning, guys. This is for nuclear war, okay? That's the only reason you would test one of these is for nuclear war, okay? If they're testing this across the entire country simultaneously, this is a test for nuclear war, okay? And Putin reportedly signed a bill allowing suspected criminals to join the military and avoid trial. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food. Free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And NATO is inadequately prepared for a large-scale war with Russia, retired U.S. Army Europe Commander Ben Hodges said at the Warsaw Security Forum yesterday. He said NATO lacks adequate air defenses, mobility, ammunition, and the mindset to be fully ready for a large-scale war with Russia. And Ukraine is planning to increase its own production of drones and ballistic missiles in 2025, Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said on October the 1st. So this is very interesting. Ukraine is going to start producing their own long-range drones and their own long-range ballistic missiles in 2025. This way they can strike anywhere they want inside of Russia, because as of right now, Ukraine cannot strike without Western permission inside of Russia. Okay, but if they can produce their own ballistic missiles, like similar to a Tachka, maybe like a 200-mile range ballistic missile, then they can strike inside of Russian territory as much as they like, and the West cannot say anything about it, unless the West were to threaten them and say, look, if you keep striking inside of Russian territory, even if it's with your own missiles, we can withhold our weapons. So still, it's very concerning that Ukraine is going to be producing their own ballistic missiles. It's another sign that this conflict is going to escalate. And this test of the emergency system in Russia suddenly is very, very concerning. And we know that Putin already revised the Russian nuclear weapons doctrine, allowing Russia to use nuclear weapons against Ukraine if they use Western weapons to strike deep inside of Russia, which could be any week now, okay? Biden is going to be going to Germany sometime this month to meet with all of the defense ministers of NATO, and I can bet you that they're going to talk about the deep strikes and handling any contingencies related to that. We're hearing that the Russian military seized the town of Vuhledar in eastern Ukraine. That's a critical town. So Russia gaining some territory in eastern Ukraine. And U.S. officials are not privately trying to persuade Israel to hold back on retaliating against Iran in the aftermath of Tuesday's attack, two senior Biden administration officials told CNN. Okay, so the U.S. is not trying to persuade Israel to hold back. And we're hearing unconfirmed reports that the Israeli ambassador to Cyprus was kidnapped. It's hard to say if this is true or not, but according to Reuters, the Israeli ambassador to Cyprus and two of his companions were kidnapped on the coast and taken to an unknown location. And Israeli officials told Axios that there are 3 targets for Israel's planned counterattack against Iran, and they are oil facilities, air defense systems, and targeted assassinations. So probably going after the IRGC, unless they just go big and go right for Khamenei and try to take Khamenei out. And apparently, if Iran attacks Israel again, then Iran's nuclear facilities will be hit next. Okay, so that's what Israeli officials told Axios. They're going after the oil, they're going after air defenses, various military targets, various assassinations, but they're not going to hit the nuclear facilities unless Iran responds back. And Iran already said that if Israel responds, they're going to respond even bigger, and that they're going to destroy all of Israel's infrastructure, which I don't think they're going to be able to do that because Israel has really good air defenses. But this is all biblical, guys. Okay, yesterday, Iran launched the largest missile attack on Israel ever in the history of Israel. Okay, no country has ever launched hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel. Okay, this attack was double in size and scope as the first attack in April. And even though the Israeli government is saying only 200 missiles, a lot of sources that were on the ground during the attack said that it felt like 400 or 500 missiles, and much, much more intense than the attack in April. So Israel is definitely going to respond. The question is when and how. Are they going to wait until after Rosh Hashanah, which I believe ends Friday? Are they going to hit the nuclear sites? Are they going to hit the oil sites? What are they going to hit? We don't know, but it's going to be significant, okay? Netanyahu said yesterday that Iran will pay a big price, okay? And Israeli officials are reporting that Netanyahu and Biden will hold a phone call today to coordinate the attack on Iran. And apparently the Israeli Air Force is currently preparing a response to Iran following directives from the political leadership. And Israel's foreign minister said Iran has crossed a red line and its attack will not go unanswered. So that's the Israeli foreign minister. And the Iranian parliament speaker said that their next response to any Israeli attack will be completely different. Until Thursday at 5 p.m. local time, the country's civil aviation organization said. And the Middle East will enter into a big war if the Europeans don't control the Israeli regime from now on. That's what the Iranian defense minister said. And Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, held a meeting with the representatives of Arab countries to discuss the escalation in the Middle East. And Israel has ordered residents of 25 Lebanese villages to evacuate immediately. These villages are just north of the Litani River, so it does appear that Israel is going to continue their ground operations in southern Lebanon. And the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said yesterday that we call on Iran to stop any further attacks on Israel, including by its affiliated groups. And Iran's foreign minister said Wednesday that Iran warned the United States against intervening following Iran's attack on Israel. We have warned the U.S. forces to withdraw from this matter and not to intervene, Araghchi told state television, adding that the message was relayed through the Swiss embassy in Tehran. And the Iranian foreign minister said whoever gives their airspace to our enemies will be considered an enemy in our eyes. So they're probably referring to Jordan and Iraq, most likely just Jordan. And Israeli media is reporting that Iranian missiles destroyed buildings and maintenance workshops for warplanes in Israeli air bases. And at least 2 explosions near the Israeli embassy in Copenhagen, Denmark were heard. Apparently, it was caused by hand grenades. According to Danish police, 3 suspects have been arrested and no injuries were reported. And there were some recent Israeli airstrikes in the southern suburb of Beirut again. This is where Hezbollah had their command bunker. Apparently, they targeted weapon manufacturing sites, according to the Israeli army. And the Israeli army said that another division is being deployed to southern Lebanon for ground operations against Hezbollah. The 36th Division is now joining the 98th Division, which had entered Lebanon on Monday night. And the IDF announced that 6 fighters were killed and 30 wounded in a heroic battle overnight in the eastern sector of southern Lebanon. So there were some casualties already in this invasion of Lebanon. And apparently Emmanuel Macron, the French president, called Israel and told them to end their military operations in Lebanon as soon as possible. Wow. And Germany and China have called on their citizens to leave Iran immediately. And there are reports of children killed in Jordan by the Iranian missiles. And the Israeli foreign minister has declared the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as a persona non grata, banning him from entering the country. Foreign Minister Israel Katz decided to declare UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres an undesirable person in Israel and to ban his entry into the country. He said, quote, "He who is unable to unequivocally condemn Iran's criminal attack on Israel is not fit to set foot on Israeli soil. This is an Israel-hating Secretary General who gives support to terrorists, rapists, and murderers. Guterres will be remembered as a stain on the history of the UN." Wow, absolutely insane. The Israeli foreign minister telling it like it is, basically shitting on the UN Secretary General. Wow, that was so refreshing to hear. And the president of Turkey, Erdogan, said that Israel may attack Turkey after Lebanon. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that Israel, while conducting a military operation in Gaza and carrying out strikes on the territory of Lebanon, is simultaneously taking various provocative actions to involve other countries in the region in the conflict. After Palestine and Lebanon, the Israeli leadership, acting with the delusion of a promised land, will target our homeland. Occupation, terror, and aggression are already at our doorstep. What we are facing is not a state bound by law, but a band of murderers who feed on blood and get fat on occupation, he said. Wow. Erdogan has completely lost his mind, but this is all biblical, guys. The Bible says that Turkey, Russia, Iran, Syria, all these countries are going to turn against Israel in the end times, okay? And we are currently living in the end times. And Bank of America is currently experiencing a widespread outage. Many customers are reporting seeing a balance of zero in their accounts. Isn't that pretty scary? Want to just share some flight paths with you guys. Last night we had some interesting activity on the Korean Peninsula. We had this RC-135 rivet joint patrolling the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, the border of North and South Korea. Haven't seen that in a while. We had a massive amount of reconnaissance and suspicious activity over Poland and Eastern Europe last night. Here you can see an Italian Air Force reconnaissance plane again flying over Lithuania and Latvia. And there was also a French Air Force reconnaissance plane flying over northeast Poland. And then we also had a NATO E-3 Sentry AWACS plane flying over southern Poland near Częstochowa. And at the same time, there was a Belarusian reconnaissance plane patrolling the border of Poland, literally flying right up to the Polish border within 2 miles of the Polish border, just doing loops right along the border at the same time. Here's a closer look. You can see Warsaw over here, and just to the east of Warsaw, the Belarus border near Brześć and Terespol. You can see this Belarus recon plane here going north to south along the border of Poland. That is extremely unusual. This is actually the first time I've seen this. And here you can see the Italian recon plane and the Polish AWACS plane. And right now over the United States, we have a nuke sniffer plane looping over western Nebraska, which is pretty interesting. And it's flying pretty low, only 14,000 feet, and doing loops here near North Platte, Nebraska. Very interesting. And then here we have an E-6 Mercury, a nuclear war command and control plane that was out in the Gulf earlier this morning. And we also had this Russian Air Force plane fly to Kaliningrad. Very, very concerning, potentially dropping off troops or equipment here close to Poland in this base over here. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with another update. And if anything happens with Israel and Iran, I will go live. And I do have my 24/7 continuous monitoring stream up right now. So you can come in and check that out and listen to the nuclear forces communicating. And you can check out some of these flights and cameras from different parts of the world. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.